Hello and welcome back to OT the podcast. We're here to talk about watches, time, and how to spend it. My name is Andy Green.
I'm Felix the Henchman Schultz.
Felix, welcome back. Today we're going to do a little part two, or the second edition of a bit of a news wrap. So we did one back in Feb, which is worth listening to if you haven't already. And off the back of the popularity there, we thought we would do one for March, which isn't over yet, but it will be by the time we hit publish.
Yeah.
So everyone who's released something from the 28th onwards misses out.
Sorry.
Bye.
We'll get you in April.
We might catch you in April. We're also going to take a bit of a closer look at the history of G-Shock, which is going to be a good chat.
Yeah, nice.
Before we do, Felix, what have you been up to?
Yeah, so as people who have been paying attention to watches will know, it's the new releases are coming thick and fast. Hence the fact that we're spending a whole episode just chatting about them, which means, of course, for you and me, Andy, we're spending some time on the old Zoom / Microsoft Teams / whatever else virtual
IRL
platforms.
Too.
Oh yeah, a bit of IRL, I guess.
That's happening more and more.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. But one of the ones I was in the other day, I think you were there too, was a bit of Mido.
Yes, I was there.
Which is a lovely brand that needs to get a bit more love, I think. We've done a few watch matchmakers with them. But
we have.
They sort of gave us a little bit of a show of their new releases, which I've seen some of them IRL as well. Don't want to sort of, go too deep into the rabbit hole, but there's some nice divers, like heritage ones, more contemporary ones. There's also a multi-fork chrono that's kind of cool. But one that I quite liked, and it isn't usually my bag.
The standout.
It's not like there's solid ones, but this one was like, it just piqued my curiosity. It's Ocean Star Heritage, which I think you've checked out before. It's just a solid, it's a dive watch. It's no muss, no fuss, clean vintage dial, like domed crystal. It's got a bezel. It's got a crown lock, But this one is a bit cool because it's gold. Well, gold PVD, given the price point of $1,500. I think that's $1,550, sorry. I think that's
reasonable, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty reasonable to expect that's not solid precious metal. So it's gold with blue, and it's quite it's a really rich, blingy sort of vibe that I reckon for that sort of money, I'd go there on I'm not going to buy a gold sub anytime soon, Andy, unless the podcast really starts kicking off. But a Mido, I reckon I could do that, and I reckon it's a bit of fun.
I can see it.
Yeah,
I can see it.
I'd do it. So.
Amazing. Well, before we get too deep into the new releases and the news of late, Felix, I think it's time to have that chat we mentioned around the history of Casio G-Shock.
Let's go back in time. So, Andy, in 2016, which is a surprisingly long time ago now, I had the pleasure of attending a Casio G-Shock event in Sydney, celebrating the 20th anniversary, I believe, of the MRG line. It was at Tetsuya's. And look, I'm sure dinner was lovely. I don't really remember it. I remember two things about the event. There was a dude with a katana who smashed a G-Shock out of a solid block of ice. That was sick.
Wow.
But mostly I remember Mr. Kikuei Ibe was there, the father of G-Shock, and he gave an incredible PowerPoint about the history of G-Shock. He was charming, funny, inspiring. So we've got like a pretty tall sort of standard to live up to. I don't think we're going to be as charming, funny, or as inspiring as Ibe-san, but we're going to do our best telling the story about G-Shock.
Katana optional. Felix, like many things in life, G-Shock was born out of a problem. Kikuei Ibe had a problem that he needed to be solved. He dropped the watch that his father had given him and it just smashed to pieces. So Ibe-san set out to create an unbreakable watch. The result was the development of his 10-10 philosophy, and that was a watch had to be water resistant to 10 bar or 100 meters, have a minimum 10-year battery life, and survive a 10-meter drop. It's a tough ask today, but back in the 1980s, it seemed even more impossible.
Yeah, today you look at all that sort of stuff and you go, that's pretty achievable. But the thing that gets me, like in 1980, like the early 80s, 10-year battery life.
Huge.
That's like, this is, you're not talking solar power back then. The battery technology wouldn't have been as advanced. So that's, you know, people sort of get caught up on the 10-meter drop. But for me, I reckon that battery life would have been the challenge.
Yeah, I mean, the 10-meter drop for me because I'm pretty clumsy, and I mean, you drop any watch like
I,
a meter that's not built too tough, and they don't survive. So the triple 10 philosophy has served them well.
yeah. So in 1981, Project Team Tough, which also is
It's a
perhaps
great name.
the best team name I can imagine, started work on creating a watch that would live up to this challenge. And after 2 years and over 200 prototypes, they had found something that was up to the task. In 1983, the world saw the first ever G-Shock, the DW5000C.
What a great year, 1983. At the heart of G-Shock's strength is the fact that the quartz module, which is the timekeeping heart, is free floating in layers and layers of protection, from rubber to steel to a foam cradle, protecting it from even the most intense of drops. Whilst we sort of talked about 10-meter drops being the standard, there's actually plenty of stories about even more hardcore challenges.
Yeah, and I think the sort of the story that you see around is like, do you know? I don't know if you ever had to do this in high school, of like you have to drop this egg 10 meters, and that's how you do it.
Yep.
That's basically what they've done with the G-Shock, is put it in separate layers so that it preserves itself from even some pretty intense shocks. But in researching this, Andy, I found a pretty rad ad from 1988 that has a hockey player smacking a G-Shock into the goals. And at the end of the video is a disclaimer text that says "not recommended treatment." We will definitely link that
I'll
up.
have to watch
Yeah,
it.
it's great.
Yeah, I'll have to watch it.
Originally, the watch, as you can imagine, was aimed at people that needed a tough watch, outdoors types, emergency services, and all that sort of gear. And it's maybe surprisingly lived up to that hype. Like a lot of like super tough products sell themselves as being sort of strong, but maybe fall down in real life. The G-Shock, other way around. So it's earned a loyal following amongst everyone from, sort of police and, defense personnel to, anyone that needs to actually wear a watch that can handle a beating.
And not think about the implications of knocking it on something. I think back to the handful of fighter pilots that we've had and RAF pilots that we've had on the show, and they all own G-Shock. And look, you probably won't be surprised that G-Shock continued to get tougher and smarter over the years. If you think about triple G resist, for example, which protects against dropping shock, centrifugal gravity, and vibration. What a mouthful. And even the newest carbon core modules, which use a lightweight carbon fiber core to make G-Shock even tougher whilst remaining nimble.
Nice. And I mean, it's like, so the technology side, it goes two ways. There's the stuff that you don't really see, like the carbon core and that triple G resist, but they've also added like user-friendly features. So solar power, GPS. They introduced a triple sensor in 1994 that measures direction, barometric pressure, altitude, and temperature.
Handy.
And one I remember writing about it back then, was they pioneered a low energy Bluetooth watch back in 2011. And that's something we sort of take for granted these days, that, a connected watch can, connect to your phone. But back then it was huge. And it was huge because the battery still lasted for years, even though it was using Bluetooth. And, that sort of continues today. There's a really handy G-Shock smartphone app that makes using that laundry list of features easy.
I love it on the MTG that I'm wearing right now. It's also just about indestructible.
Yeah, all this is why I think people like you said before, people like old mate Matt Wright, the crocodile wrangler, who we spoke to a few weeks ago, wears them. They're tough and they're practical, and I think that eBay-san has well and truly achieved that original mission.
100%, Felix. We need to keep things moving, and we'll link up some interesting G-Shock history, like that sweet hockey ad, and of course the Matt Wright episode in the show notes. So if you want to learn more about G-Shock, head to g-shockaustralia.com.au for more, and we'll keep going. Alrighty, Felix. Well, as we said at the start, and as we know, we've kind of alluded to, it is time to discuss the new releases of March. And I think the big one and the only logical place to start is from Omega, who had, I think, maybe a dozen new releases, probably more. But what's the top line?
They had a very look, before we get into the watches. Let's do a quick shout out to Omega HQ's marketing team for a really slick video presentation, the best I've seen so far.
Wow.
I haven't seen they've had time to work it out. Very, very well put together, very clear, going into all the details you need, and also a little cameo from George Clooney at the end that was kind of funny. So I don't know if that's public actually, but if it is, maybe check it out. But so their top line, big new releases, updated Seamaster 300. Constellation small seconds, Ville Tresor Power Reserve. That's very nice, bit dressy. Some feminine oriented Seamaster Aquaterras with some really lovely dials with stones and wave patterns that we're probably not going to talk about today, to be honest. Seamaster Diver 300 black. Guess what colour that is? And some funky new NASA-branded straps for your Speedy. Where do you want to kick off, Andy?
I think the place to start is probably the Seamaster 300.
What do you think?
So there's been a bit happening here.
Yep.
Talk me through it.
Well, it's been an update. So the Seamaster 300 is their sort of heritage Seamaster. It's been around, I don't know, like 2015, 2016. It's been around a while. It's been given quite a significant update in the dial. It's now a proper sandwich dial that's been cleaned up in terms of the design. The numerals, those cardinal 12369, are now sandwich, as we said, and that means you've got an open 9 and open 6 that is quite a familiar look. And it's in blue, it's in black, and it's in another one that we'll chat about in a second. But there's other details that are worth noting. On the Bond limited edition, they did a lollipop hand. Clearly, everyone frothed that because now it's standard.
Wow.
There's some other stuff that's nice. Cleaner layout, narrower inner bezel bit. I don't know what they call it, but that bit of metal between the crystal and I don't know. It's a shiny bit, and I always found it a bit irritating in the last version because it was quite wide. Like it really was like a big break between, bezel, shiny, glossy metal, crystal. It looked weird. It looks a lot better on this one. It's thinner, and a new domed sapphire crystal, which sort of amps up the vintageness. All good stuff. And I think it's now Meta certified.
Yes.
We should probably talk about that. Like that's, so movement upgrade there. But the big news that everyone's been chatting about is bronze gold, which is really interesting, Andy. So it's a new alloy, a proprietary alloy that Omega says, in terms of colour, sits between their Sedna gold and their moonshine gold. So Sedna's rose gold, basically, and yellow gold for moonshine. It's giving that sort of trendy bronze look, but it's sort of giving it an upscale feel by including gold in there. And as far as alloys go, 40% gold, 50% copper. So that's the main thing. So the copper is obviously giving it that bronzy colour. The gold stabilizes it, whereas other ones use like nickel or aluminium.
Yeah.
What this means is that it's going to patina.
It is.
But it's going to patina not much, and it's not going to get that green finish. The finish that you get that's actually can be harmful if it's worn on the skin, which is why bronze watches typically have like steel or titanium casebacks and buckles. The other elements in there are silver and palladium and whatever else they do to make it shiny and all that sort of jazz. I think this is a really interesting move because it's clearly recognizing that bronze is around to stay and that it's it's a look that people want, but it's also offering it at a price point that makes sense for Omega and that positions them out of that sort of pure tool watch realm. So the fact that it's gold, it's 9 karat gold, so it's quite hard. It's clever. It's clever marketing, and I think it's clever sort of material science to have a sort of a stable version of it, which is, I think, I am at least beyond past the point where I want bronze that goes like green and funky. Some people still get that like that, but for me, I like that. I like a subtler bronze shade. I don't know about you.
Interesting. I think it's interesting. I agree with you. I think it's very smart marketing.
Yeah, and it means that the price of it can be up there too. So it's this one on leather is 17,675 Australian dollars. Put that in the context of steel, which is 9,900 on a bracelet. And I think a straight up gold watch, you're looking at, 20, mid-20s at least, I think, from Omega.
What would they even have on full gold bracelet, off a bracelet?
Oh, lots of
have
stuff.
a
I mean,
Seamaster?
Speedies. There's those. We'll talk about the DeVilles in a minute. You can get pretty much most Omegas. You'll have gold options these days.
No, I'm just thinking not on a... Yeah, so if you looked at like the Diver 300...
Aquaterras.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll do gold. Like, that's the thing with Omega. They'll do versions of everything. But maybe,
No, it's not a bad price. I'm looking at like the Diver 300M chrono right now and the rubber strap, and that's 43.5 for their Sydney gold. Yeah, so that's quite at first glance it's like, oh, that's a bit of money, but it's 40% gold on 100%.
Yeah,
so
it is what it is.
Like,
it's slightly under 40%, but I mean,
yeah. The steel's nice though. The steel looks good.
Yeah.
I agree with you on the that sort of inner steel bezel part.
Yeah.
And the dial looks a lot cleaner.
Yeah.
All right,
talk to me about
the
blue dial's hot, and it's got that vintage look loom. What else?
Talk to me about the 300 meter black diver black.
What is there to say, Andy? It's black. It's
black everything. Completely murdered out.
Okay, Andy. It's Seamaster. What I would traditionally call the Seamaster Professional, but is the Seamaster Diver 300 meters. This is ceramic, so 43.5 mil, big case, bigger than some of their other ones, I think. It's ceramic and it's all black. But that doesn't mean it's boring and unreadable, because they've done some clever stuff with how they've dealt with the material. So the main case is polished and brushed. You still see those cool twisted lugs. The dial is wavy, and it's got I think it's not full black luminous material. It's like a grey black, so you can still sort of see it a little bit. Does mean that the loom doesn't pop as much as like white Luminova, but it's certainly legible. The cool thing for me is they've got that ceramic bezel. They've opted not to use like a glossy ceramic. They've gone for like a blasted ceramic with like raised, polished hash markers and numerals, kind of like the Necton release that came out last year, which was in the same sort of vibe in steel. I think it's nice. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I think it looks really interesting. I'm trying to find out what color that loom actually is. The black. It is actually called the black too.
Yeah,
which is
well, they've done that before. They've got like their deep black, and with this Speedmasters have done a bunch of different black versions. Interesting. So this is 13,200 Aussie, which is it's a pretty solid price for a ceramic diver.
Pretty sharp.
There's also another one that didn't get talked about in the press materials that I think is also new, because it's on the website and it's available in May. It's the same watch with white markers, gold hands, and like gold crown and bezel. So if you can't quite handle black, how about mostly black?
Yeah, that's cool. I like that better.
And that's
sort of, I mean, hate to say it, but it's sort of like a chunkier Omega take on the Yachtmaster.
Oh, I don't know what you're referring to, Andy. That's
if you need the visual.
I mean, what could you possibly mean by that? But no, it's a good look, and I mean they come on rubber straps as well. They're pretty tactical. The Goldie one is 17,325. Would you rock one of these? Would you go a black watch?
I like the gold.
Okay.
I think it's just like a nice bit of contrast. I don't know if I do the full black.
Yeah, it's a thing, isn't it? I guess it's a pretty acquired taste. But Do you know what else is a thing? If you like the gold, Andy, you might like the next main Amiga release I want to chat about to you.
Tell me.
The DeVille Tresor Small Seconds Power Reserve. Do you like that?
Go on.
It's just a lovely watch. It's the DeVille is a really classic family, and this is like, I think it's the modern version of those those classic Amiga pipe hand constellations and dress watches from the 50s and 60s. This to me is the sort of the spiritual successor to those.
It is quite nice.
Yeah, so layout-wise, you're looking at 2 registers vertically laid out. That's vertical, top and bottom. The bottom is small seconds. The top is a power reserve that, I don't know if you can see, but it's a really clean power reserve. Like, they don't have the hour numbers on there. They've just got dots that are sort of larger and smaller. So...
good design.
Very good design. And it's a manually wound, so the power reserve makes sense there. And it's just a really, really beautiful, balanced layout. 40mm, 3-bar water resistance, which is fine. Like, it's a dressy watch on an alligator strap. Yellow gold, which is the one that they've sort of been promoting in the press materials, is 26,650. But there's others. So I didn't really realize this before I went and had a look at AmigaWatches.com. Earlier, there's quite a few different versions. Like, there's gold with a blue dial, there's grey dials. There's also one in steel that has like a silvery dial with like darker contrasting registers that I just think is really, really sharp.
Yeah, you really like this.
It's 11 and a half-ish. I think that is a solid crack for a nice watch. And again, beautiful movement. You can see it through the back, MEDAS, all that sort of stuff. So... what else? Amiga. Oh, we didn't. Did we talk about the straps?
No, we haven't talked about the
hottest
straps.
release from Amiga in 2021.
Fuck. So they've got their Moonwatch straps, the Velcro.
Yeah, they're sort
Velcro
of
guys.
that like legit NASA Velcro style that they would have had like around their spacesuits. Which you've been able to buy third party, and it's like literally 3 feet of Velcro that you wrap around your wrist 50 times, and it's for the hardcore guys. But they've done it now so that they've done it in silver, white, and black.
Yep.
And there's
the NASA meatball logo on there, and of course Speedmaster.
A lot of Speedmaster text. I reckon if you took the Speedmaster text off, I'd wear it with the NASA logo if I had a Speedy.
If you took that off, I think you'd wear them on a whole bunch of watches because they look really cool.
Well, I mean, would you wear a NASA logo strap on like a Submariner or something? No, you wouldn't. You wear
if I had a Unimatic, maybe I would.
Oh.
Oof. All right, enough Omega.
Yes, let's move on.
Let's keep the meatball rolling. There's been a lot happening. So the next big drop. I don't know if you saw the various press releases from a British brand, Bremont.
Yes,
but we them?
Like they've been all over.
We got about 8 press releases all joined together. They have been very busy. So the first thing they did was they finally opened their purpose-built state-of-the-art facility, the Wing.
Good name.
Which is sorry.
Good name.
Yeah, great name. Well, it's the whole design was done to kind of look after to resemble the leading edge of like an aeroplane wing. So the way they've sort of laid out the buildings definitely reflects that. Where is it? The Henley-on-Thames, which is where they've been based for I think since the start. They used some award-winning architects to transform the former piggery into a new facility. It's all very like strong from an eco-friendly perspective.
Nice.
And yeah, I guess that's where we're going to, see manufacturing from now on and all that in-house stuff come together that they've been talking about for a long time.
Yep.
So who knows what will happen, this year. And we've been invited to go check it out.
Well,
so
as soon as we can get on a plane, we should go to the Wing. I don't know.
I think we definitely need to. Everyone that knows I like to get over to the UK, so that's definitely going to be on my list. They also announced some other stuff.
Hey, before you do, I've also I wonder if there's any sort of crossover with the New York social space, like social working space exclusively for women. That's called the Wing.
Okay,
maybe there's some collabs that we can see there. Are they in the press release?
Let's have our PR speak to them.
Nice.
The other thing they announced was Bremont is the official timing partner to British racing icon Williams Racing.
Bam! F1, y'all.
Pretty big deal. F1 partnerships are big and expensive. So again, Williams is one of the, sort of mid-tier teams. This is going to be quite interesting to see what happens. But
Was that Oris previously? I think had.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I think it was Oris.
Don't know. And then on top of that, they dropped a whole bunch of new watches. So firstly, new Supermarine 302. So that's the smaller in the Supermarine collection.
Yep.
They dropped that in a GMT version.
This is my favourite, I think.
I think so too. It looks nice with the GMT hand. Yep. Just that extra functionality. So they did that on and off the bracelet. Yep. On bracelet, it is 6,100 Aussie dollars. Nice. So
solid,
pretty reasonable value.
Yep.
Pretty solid. They also did a Supermarine Chrono, so it's the larger in the Supermarine collection, with screw down pushers. So dive watch chrono, which is pretty cool. That's
like
sort of
everything that Bremont do all in one watch, really, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That's 10 flat for the blue and black one on bracelet, and then they did the Argonaut Azure, which is a new take on the Argonaut, which was, I think, done as part of like their military collection they released a few years ago.
HMF.
HMF. Yeah, with a really kind of like interesting blue dial.
Yeah, Azure. I think that's probably where the Azure comes from. Maybe like the sea, like the naval connection. I like this.
Definitely naval collection.
Does that orange rubbery strap come as standard that we've got in this picture?
Yeah, comes in an orange strap.
It goes with the orange. Oh, that's a nice watch.
Yeah, it's cool.
I've always had a soft
see.
spot for the Argonaut. I think it's the coolest of the Her Majesty's ones for me.
I like the broadsword more, but
as soon as I said that, I'm like, oh, the broadsword. Fuck.
Yeah, shots fired. So that's what they did. Whilst we're in the UK, Felix,
what are we going to do next?
Fears. Have you heard about Fears?
Yeah,
Fears watch company.
Yeah, I know Fears. They're a kind of smaller maker.
Yeah, got reinvigorated, relaunched about 5 years ago now. The great grandson of Edward Fear, who sort of started the company in the mid 1800s. Pretty hard to miss on the old Instagram. They've got some friends all over the world that give them some nice coverage and talk about them a lot, which is cool. So they must be doing something right. I've not seen one in person, but
they've got that cushiony vibe.
Cushiony vibe, clean. Our friend Adrian, who's Buck and Jack, is a big fan,
sure.
amongst many. So they typically drop a watch that's sort of 5 to 10k Aussie.
Yeah, okay, that micro,
they have gone
high-end micro brand sort of.
Yeah, right. Really pushing that sort of small production. I think they make 500 watches a year, so fair enough.
Yep.
They've just dropped a platinum piece that costs £28,000.
Huh. What? Why do you think they've done this?
Well, I think having read a quick interview with the founder, Nicholas Berman Scargill, he kind of noted that they've got a lot of demand on their products. They've got wait lists for the salmon dial that they did most recently, and the Brunswick sort of the one that's caught everyone's attention. Wait list a mile long, and I think really just wanted to test out a high price point.
Is it limited?
And apparently that is a great question. I imagine it's going to be quite limited.
Limited by production.
By production. Well, considering they make 500 watches a year. But apparently there's been some orders placed, so that is cool to see.
Would you buy actually, no, I'm not going to ask that question.
You know the answer.
Your fiscally sensible green would definitely buy 3. Speaking of green, how's this for a segue, Andy? Did you see this? The Glashütte Original Reed Green CQ. How's that for a title?
It's quite a mouthful.
So the CQ is Glashütte Original's dive watch, which is a fairly new and apparently popular addition to the family. I
can see it.
Yeah, it's a really strong bit of kit, as they say, and it's a good size. It's 39.5 mil. Like they're sort of, it's based off like a 60s diver, and you can really see that continued through. It's got quite a distinctive layout, like got big markers, and it's got its own personality, and that personality just got a bit stronger, I think, with this dark green dial.
Yeah, it's cool.
Nice. We'll link up some pics. It comes on different straps. The thing I like, it sounds like it's a bit of shade, but with these ones, I really like the textile straps. I think they're really nicely done.
They're really nice.
And they give it that sort of, rugged look, which for a dive watch that comes in at 13,450 Aussie, it's kind of a cool mix, like high-end luxury diver on this rough and ready, fabric strap is a
rough and ready. I wasn't super into the CQ until I tried on the 39.5mm version because I think there's a larger one.
Yeah,
right?
the one with the Panamanic date. Which
I
agree.
I wasn't into it, and then I got the chance to try them both on, and then the CQ in the 39 just felt really, really good. Yep. That those textile straps are really, really cool. I think this one is I don't know if you said it, but USA only for a little while.
Oh, is it?
Before they're gonna Yeah. I read my press releases closer than you do.
We got the price in Australian dollars, so if you're interested, I'm sure you can put your name down and they'll be happy to help you out.
Yeah, it's good to see these are selling quickly.
Yeah, right. And what else? And are we done, Andy? Should we go home?
No, there's more. Oh. There's more. It's been busy. What else? There is a new Unimatic, the Modelo tray.
You're a Modelo.
U3-AS Limited. So there's some sort of Apollo connection there. It's one of 200 pieces, priced at sort of $825 available via Hodinkee.
What's the Apollo
have you seen this watch? Hey?
What's the Apollo connection?
Oh, fucking, it's on the dial.
Apollo sells watches, and they might as well just chuck a logo on the dial. It kind of looks like. I saw this, and I initially thought it was like a soccer team logo.
No, it's a tribute to the Apollo Soyuz mission in 1975.
Oh, that will be a joint collaboration between NASA and the Russian Space Force.
Yes, hence the sort of it all coming together.
Hey, I see it. It's pretty cool. One of your mates has got one of these.
Basil.
Yeah, he's got That's a nice watch, chunky.
He has the standard sort of U3, I think, with like the matte and sort of creamy patina, which is also, I mean, I think nearly all Unimatics are pretty limited and numbered.
Yeah.
But it's pretty cool. So
and these are mecha quartz, aren't they? For that price?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think, again, at like $825 US dollars even, it's not that hard to...
Guess what?
Sold out?
It's sold out on Hodinkee, so let's just stop talking now.
Yeah, right. What's this?
Sold out. Of course, it's 200 pieces. Yeah, of course that's sold out.
Oh, you know what isn't sold out?
What?
TAG Heuer Formula Ones.
Far out. This was a big drop too.
Tell us about these.
A refresh.
Andy, Formula
a
1
refresh. Yeah, so TAG Heuer have refreshed the Formula One collection, basically. Timed it with the start of the F1 season in Bahrain. So there's 4 new references in the iconic Formula One collection. The big news here is that asphalt dial being continued on 3 out of the 4.
Nice.
So this is a new thing for 2021, which we first saw on the Carrera Porsche chronograph from previous episodes, which we've actually talked about a lot. Yep. Thank you, TAG Heuer.
Yep.
These are really cool. So there's 3, sort of 2 more in the sort of green world and 2 in the orange. But really kind of bright fluorescent almost colours to contrast that asphalt dial.
Poppy. The Formula One's always been pretty colourful, like as the traditional, I think, sort of youthful entry point into the TAG Heuer family. But these ones take it up a notch.
Yeah. So these come out in various stages. I'm not sure if they're all like ready to purchase, but yeah, very, very cool to see. Always like seeing sort of that refinement, especially from a brand like TAG Heuer.
So if you want to be, placed in pole position and driven to succeed,
surpass the competition.
Yes,
this is it.
Formula One, TAG Heuer. What sort of price they're like? These are quartz, yeah.
Yeah, they'd be quartz. They'd be a couple of grand each.
$3,000 kind of maybe.
I potentially less. Okay. Like there's a time and date model that's got a full orange dial. Like I wouldn't be surprised if it's even cheaper. Like 2s.
Cool. That's pretty great.
Yeah. Good value to be found.
Other end of the price spectrum, Andy. What else can you get for say 500 Swiss francs these days?
Highly controversial, Felix. So this is a good point to wrap the news on. But Patek Philippe have changed the way that they're going to be doing their archives. So bit of a then and now for you, but they basically sent out a memo to, I think all known customers or to their dealers to send out to known customers. And they basically said, we are overhauling the whole archival process
hang on.
for...
Can I interrupt you for a second?
You have, so yeah.
What is the archival process? What are we talking about here?
So it's basically where you send your, watch off or send your details off to get your watch authenticated and get, so say you bought a watch that was like naked, you could say, here's the serial number, can you please send me the archive papers, which would just be a reissue of sorts.
Like
Let's say, yes,
sold
this
on
watch
this
exists.
date and...
Yeah. So some of the vintage stuff would have like quite a lot of detail. It'll be, the service records, that sort of thing.
Yep.
But say you had like a 10-year-old Nautilus or something, and it was on its own, or you lost the receipt, or you lost the papers and the warranty and stuff. You could say, hey, can you get this for me? And basically, it would just confirm that the watch was authentic. Yep. Yeah, because it's just as good. It's sort of the same thing people do when they send their watch to Rolex just to get a service invoice or a service quote rather than the actual service itself.
Sure. All right.
So you used to be able to do that for 150 Swiss francs, and it would take about 3 months, 12 weeks.
Yep.
And you could order it for any timepiece that was older than 5 years, which is the important thing. So that's pretty reasonable. Again, it's a 5-year window. It sort of, I guess, alludes to the fact that buying things, losing the papers and then only to sell it a short time later is maybe not encouraged.
Sure.
But what they're going to be doing now, well, from late April, I think the 21st is what the memo said, to be eligible, there's some criteria. Firstly, it has to be sold from 1989, or before, so earlier.
Yep.
The price is increased to 500 Swiss francs.
Yep.
And the wait time comes down to, they're estimating 10 weeks.
Sure.
So, a couple of weeks off. If the service can't be if the service cannot be performed, then Patek will actually refund that money. So that's them rejecting it, which could mean watch ain't real or watch ain't all good.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll only be issued in English, which is pretty cool. But people are very up in arms about this.
Why?
Well, they think that it's going to cause some ambiguity to the vintage market, and especially the period from like 1990 to the early 2000s, when people were sort of having a lot of fun with Patek, and maybe it wasn't necessarily about getting, like if it's a watch from the 1990s, right, and it's had a dial swap, or it's sort of maybe a less loved model. Yeah. Maybe you now can't verify that what's exactly gone on.
Why do you think they're doing this?
It's got to be to do with the pre-owned market, right?
That's what I would have thought. Like they want
because the easiest thing was to send it off, wait 3 months, and then sell the watch.
And now maybe you're going to think twice about selling it if you don't have that security, or buying it maybe. Do you reckon?
Yeah, everyone's sort of saying anti-flipper moves.
Yep. Smart. I think.
Yeah.
I think that's, and also, I mean, it's clearly saying what the archives are for. Like, I mean, it's like keep your box and papers. I mean, I don't think it makes sense as a service for a collector or someone that genuinely has an old watch, I think, to be able to do that. But to say, yep, from the the 60s or whatever, I think that's entirely fair. And I don't. Whereas new watches, you can probably track it through other ways. You can, I don't think it's as unambiguous, and it's not their job necessarily to do your work for you.
Exactly. And I think it's also, often they've sort of said it's protecting the brand. And I mean, this to me might encourage long-term ownership, which is apparently what they want.
Yeah,
so,
sure. And it must be a giant
that seems like very long.
Oh, God. I reckon, Jörn and Brigitte in the bloody archives department are like, Mr. Stern, we're like, this is our inbox, this is our outbox. Something has to happen here. Like, they must be getting flooded with, requests for all sorts of ridiculousness.
The other thing is this is going to make extract probably like more valuable, right? Like more collectible, especially if someone's got one from a more recently.
So does that mean everyone's getting their watches validated before April 21?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a flood, right? Because if you've got a watch that's 5-6 years old now,
just
you
do
can
it now.
Definitely do it now. So I think they're going to be inundated, which is probably what they expected as well.
Yeah, sure.
It's craziness.
Wow. Well, that's a place to end it on. And I guess as this is going out, there might be new Pateks, or they'll be very soon. I think we're doing this. This
is going to be before Watches and Wonders, but yes,
by the time you're listening to it, maybe there's going to be a replacement 5711 titanium with a diamond face and powered by an Apple movement.
Quartz. Everything's back to quartz.
Yeah, Beta 22.
All right, Felix. As always, thank you to Casio G-Shock Australia for putting this all together. Make sure you hit the links in the show notes, show them that you support us. Email us, otthepodcast@gmail.com. Hit us on Instagram. Felix, what's our handle?
I don't know, mate. Probably ot.podcast.
OT the podcast. OT.podcast on
OT
Instagram.
podcast. Jeez. Gosh,
Heck.
Andy.
Whoops. OT.podcast on Instagram. If you like OT, tell your friends. Leave a review. 5 stars only.
Yeah, someone reviewed us with 3 stars, Andy, and it was entirely unjustified.
That was harsh.
That was very harsh.
They said, like the guest, could do without the host.
So when we say leave a review, we need to be clear. Only positive 5 stars reviews. None of this middle ground. If you don't like us, just scroll on.
Yeah.
Anyway,
like 5 stars only.
Thank you, Andy. It's been a pleasure chatting to you. And now let's do something else.
Peace.